Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to sculpt a superhuman torso from scratch. You can use whatever software you'd like, because this is all about the fundamentals. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so first off, we're going to start with the overall skeleton structure and the overall proportions, you know. So right here, just adding like the rib cage, and here we're going to have the pelvis. And then of course we need this like curve here with the back and everything. So the rib cage, the pelvis. Alright, so to start off with, we're just gonna add like the overall rib cage, something like so, something like this, and we're gonna add like the arms, we're gonna add like a neck, then the legs down here, something like this. You can see, very basic, just keeping everything simple. That's the key to this, keep it simple, guys. Alright, so Dynamesh, let's see here, Dynamesh. So as you can see, we started with blocking out the rib cage right here, right? And here we have the pelvis, and the, like, you know, this like corner right here, on the actual skeleton part of the pelvis. Just gonna add this in. So, something like that. Alright, the back is more tricky, so let's start out with that. So from here, we have this muscle right here, and we're gonna connect it like so. It's kind of like squarish, something like this. Then we have like here, this muscle here, so you just can add this in. You see, I'm making it a little bit more triangular to give it a little bit more life, you know. So then we have the traps up here. Goes from the clavicle, connects to the clavicle in front. We're gonna add the clavicle soon. Connects to the scapula, that we're also gonna add soon. And back here just connects to the back, something like this. So this scapula right here, we can add that. It's the skeleton part, the like shoulder blades, you know. And then here, the clavicle is this like skeleton part right here. It's usually like an S shape, something like this, as you can see. If the clavicle would be completely straight, you wouldn't be able to breathe, or you would choke yourself, you know. So right here, keeping this like an S curve or S shape, and then going backwards. So it's kind of like, not a circle, but it goes kind of like around and ends with the scapula. Here we're gonna add this line in the middle, and then here we're just gonna move this inwards a little bit, move this outwards to make it look more like big muscular like back. Here we're gonna push this outward to make the back a little bit more muscular, and then the arm needs to go here, right? So I'm just gonna add in the basic shape of the arm. Something downwards like so, maybe? Yeah, you see, I'm just indicating it to make it simple for myself to see where I'm actually going to add the muscles to. Because we need to understand where like the humerus is, like this bone that goes, the upper arm bone, so we can actually connect the like pectoralis muscle to it. I'm gonna push this a little bit more outwards, starting to indicate something like this. Adding the shapes, making sure it's kind of nice and soft, so it looks a little bit more like muscles and skin, you know. And then the shoulders. Yeah, the shoulders are always kind of tricky. We're just going to start with adding this back shoulder right here. Something like that. And I just saw like this like cool connection to really connect the shoulder to the overall arm, you know. So here, you have the tricep, and here we have the back muscles. So just something like this, to give it a little bit more flow, to give it a little bit more life, so you can connect this with this strong line here. That looks kind of cool, right? And then here we're actually going to just connect this up, something like this. Connect this shape upwards, and it connects to the top of the like scapula here. Let's restart this. Let's see here. This part here actually connects to like the back of the skull. And here, this part connects to the upper part of the scapula. And then here, I believe this connects to the lower back here somewhere. I'm not completely sure, guys. So something like this. And then we're going to make it something like this. So it's kind of like a star shape, as you can see. Like, we have this like part going outwards. That's really a star shape, but you know, kinda, if you take this away, it kinda looks like a star. I just add that triangle at the bottom. We need to indicate that this is actually a separate muscle. I still want this flow like this, like a flow through the body, you know. So, or through the back. So I'm just gonna try to indicate that, and then we have the muscles here at the side. These like two muscles. We can group them together as one for the moment, something like this, and we just can indicate this part a little bit more. And then we have the shoulder on top of that, of course. Then we can indicate that this is actually the like traps or the trapezius muscle, or the neck muscles, if you want to call it like that. We can add the shoulders a little bit more height to them, make them a little bit more round, and then push these shapes a little bit more inwards. And now, for the fun part, just gonna add this like line in the middle here. I'm gonna indicate this like square shape, you know, really squarish, something like this. Just gonna make sure that the face looks somewhat alright. And then we're gonna do the front torso. We're gonna sculpt this up. Alright, so let's change the reference again. Yeah, use a ton of reference, because reference is key to make something look like realistic and learn and understanding how more real life looks, you know. So make sure that you look at a ton of reference, and of course use a lot of like anatomical references and stuff like that, like the anatomy of the muscle sits and all that kind of cool stuff. Alright, let's see. So, right here, the rib cage, we have that indicated. Just gonna indicate like the abs, something like this in the middle. I'm actually gonna make it a little bit more triangular, something like this. Upwards here, the obliques goes from the bottom here, like kind of rests on top of this, right? Pushing it outwards and connecting it all the way through the rib cage here. As you can see, just makes it look more like a torso. And then one of the most important muscles to create that like muscular or superhuman looking torso, the pectoralis major, so like the chest muscles. So let's see here, I'm trying to make them kinda squarish, very like square looking, to make them look more muscular. And they connect from like the humerus, like the upper bone in the arm, and they connect to the like clavicle here, all the way down here. You just need to fix the shapes a little bit. Let's see, we're gonna push the belly a little bit more inwards, this a little bit more outwards. Something kinda like this. Perfect, right? Let's indicate the clavicle a little bit better. And here we're just gonna add the shape inwards, something like this, as you can see. And then we're just gonna start off with, yeah, we can actually drag this inwards. I'm just using the damn standard here. Pushing this inwards a little bit, something like so. And pushing this outward. From the top, make sure it actually goes a little bit inwards, like, or I usually make it something like this angle here, right? And then we have the overall shoulder, of course. Let's see, I'm just trying to find a good reference right here. So, adding these three parts of shoulder. The shoulder contains of three parts: the back here, and the middle part, and the front delt, right? Push this downwards a little bit to make them look a little bit less over exaggerated. Pushing the neck upwards a little bit to make it more like this bodybuilding looking neck, you know. Just gonna add these shapes in the middle. Here, adding this like plane on the side. That's carving away a little bit. And then let's just fix these shapes a little bit more, I would say, at least. So, something like this, pushing this downwards, making sure that this is not a completely straight line here, it actually goes a little bit more like this. Let me show you, something like that. You see, like you get this triangular shape here. The same thing kinda goes for the bottom part as well. I'm just looking and trying to see what I can improve, you know. And then here, the clavicle, of course. Something like that, just gonna indicate clavicle a little bit more strongly. Then we can add the sternocleidomastoid, this neck muscle that goes from here to behind the ear, but we don't have the back side of the ear, so we're just gonna end it somewhere here. Adding this triangular shape here, and the rib cage a little bit more strongly. And then we're gonna add like these abs here, and then this muscle down here. And then we have like the abs here, but they are not gonna be as strong. I'm gonna move this upwards. We can actually move this downwards a tiny bit. Move it inwards on this side, making sure that this kind of goes more like a triangular shape. And then make sure that it's plain, something like that. And then I'm gonna indicate the rib cage a little bit more. Something like this. And then make sure the shoulders are kind of round. Let's indicate the arm a little bit more, just for making this a little bit more simple to read and understand what's going on. So, it's going to add the arm, something like this, I would say. Pushing this outward, making sure it looks kind of like an arm. We can add a tricep at the back, something like this. And the bicep here, of course. Let's see, something like this. And then we have this like brachialis, I believe it's called. Then we can make the rib cage a little bit more strong, you know, to really indicate that it is actually a skeleton structure. And then here we can see like the navel, the belly button, you know. I'm gonna indicate that. That usually helps a ton with making it more realistic. Then we're gonna have this like pretty sharp line in the middle. We're not gonna continue it down here, but right here we're gonna have this sharp line. Then we're gonna do the same thing on the sides. Something like that, something like this, round this off here. Just to be able to add these small muscles on the side. Something like this. Something like this, right? Adding these muscles on this side. And then right here, we're just gonna indicate this. Something like that, and we're gonna indicate this strong line right here. And we start to get a pretty muscular torso, don't you think? Then we actually have some kind of skin between here. A bit of just a skin layer, so we're just gonna soften this out a bit. So, alright. We're just gonna sharpen up the shoulder a little bit, something like this. Here we actually have like this part right here. We need to keep this part here pretty sharp. And then, of course, we have like this triangle right here. Just gonna soften it out a little bit to make it look more like skin. You see it too sharp? Soften it out a little bit. We're actually gonna do that with the entire model. Just soften it out a tiny bit to make it look a little bit more natural. Alright, so then here we can actually just make a little bit more topology. Something like this, just adding like the overall shape of the belly button. Something like that. We're just gonna indicate the middle line of the abs. Just gonna indicate the abs a little bit more as well. So something like this. And then here the middle line of the chest, and then we go right here. Make sure that you actually don't make the chest like this. You see, it's very easy to actually make the chest too round. Make sure it's more square. And then we're actually just gonna add like this shape on this side, something like this, to indicate the different fibers of the chest. Like it goes like so. Down here it's actually like 3 parts, and we have a small 4th part on the bottom, but we aren't gonna indicate that. So let me just show you. So we have one part here, the top layer, layer underneath, and bottom layer, and then we actually have 1/4 underneath here somewhere. So I think about it as layers to make it more simple for myself, you know. And then here we're gonna indicate this part. Make sure that this is actually somewhat realistic looking. Gonna smooth this out because fibers usually aren't that strong. And then here we're gonna actually add the obliques, I believe it's called. We're just gonna sharpen it up a little bit. We're gonna sharpen this part up a little bit to indicate where the like separation between the like torso and back starts. You see, I'm just going through and indicating all the muscles a little bit more. And then on this side right here, we're just going to indicate these muscles. Something like that. And this muscle is really helpful to indicate where like the shoulder blade is going and everything, I believe, like this space in between here. So I usually use that to indicate where the actual like scapula is. So here we're just gonna indicate this a little bit more. You see, separating this so you can actually see the trapezius muscle standing pretty much by itself, you know. You see, we're just like adding a little bit more volume to make the muscles a little bit more like full looking. Like, you know, bodybuilders, they train in a specific way to make the muscles look a lot bigger and more full. So we just can indicate that, and of course eat in a specific way. I don't know too much about that subject, so don't take my words for it, you know. So something like this. And we're just gonna indicate this downwards. And then right here, adding like the nipples. This, I believe this is kind of where we're gonna end this video actually. So yeah, something like this. We just created this super muscular torso relatively quickly, you know, and it's kind of simple to make, but it's still pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of how you make a basic torso. Did you enjoy this video then? Please smash that subscribe button and like this video. I also have this video right now, right here, about sculpture. I really think you will enjoy it and I hope you will watch it. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.